In this video, I'm going to cover factoring by grouping. So here's our first problem. Let's factor this by grouping. So let's look at the first two terms here. They both share an x in common. Factor out an x. That's going to leave you with a plus b in the parentheses. And the second two terms, what can you factor out of this? You can factor out a y out of both of those. So let's factor out a y. Okay, so these both have a plus b in common. So let's factor an a plus b out. And what's left is the x plus y. So you're going to put that in parentheses here. Here's another problem. All right, let's see what the first two terms have in common. They both have at least one x. So we can factor out an x. That's going to leave you with x plus y in parentheses. And the second two terms, what can we factor out of these two? We can factor out a 2 out of both of them. And what's left in the parentheses is x plus y. What do they share in common? Both of these share an x plus y. What's left here is x plus 2, so we're going to put that in the other parenthesis. Now what if you had this arranged a little bit differently? Notice that we have the 2x after the x squared, and the xy is next to the 2y this time. Is this going to still give us the same answer? Let's see. So let's look at the first two terms. You can factor an x out of both of those. What's left in parentheses is x plus 2. What can you factor out of the second two terms? We can factor a y out of both of those. That leaves you with x plus 2. What do these share in common now? X plus 2. So we're going to write that in parentheses. What's left here is x plus y. So we get the same factors. Whether the x plus 2 is first or the x plus y is first, it doesn't matter. But these are exactly the same. So if it's arranged a little bit differently, you can still factor it. Here's another problem. Looks like we can't factor anything out of the first two terms, so we're going to have to rearrange this. So I'm going to put the ab after the a squared, and I'm going to put the 4b right next to the 4a. Now we can factor an a out of the first two terms. That leaves you with a plus b in parentheses. The last two terms here, what can we factor out of this? We can factor out a negative 4. Both of these have a negative 4. It's going to leave you with b plus a. Now b plus a is the same thing as a plus b, so I'll just rewrite that. And you add two numbers together, it doesn't matter the order. Okay, so these share a plus b in common, so we can factor out an a plus b. What's left? A minus 4. That's going to go in the other parenthesis there. Here's another problem. All right, let's look at the first two terms. Can we factor anything out? Looks like we can't, so we're going to have to rearrange this a little bit. So I'm going to put the xy right after the x squared. I'm going to put the 4y before the 4x there. So plus 4y minus 4x. Let's look at the first two terms. We can factor out an x out of both of these. That's going to leave you with x minus y. And what can we factor out of the last two? We can factor out a 4. That's going to leave you with y minus x in parentheses. Okay, if you notice here, we have x minus y and y minus x. So these are not the same. We can factor a negative out of the y minus x. So change this to a minus. And then you can just swap the x and the y. Now we have x minus y, which is what we need. So if you need to swap terms like I just did there, you just change the sign of this term here. If it's a plus, it's going to become a minus. If that's a minus, then this would become a plus. Okay, so now These both share an x minus y, and what's left? X minus 4. So that goes in the parenthesis.